Worried about gout? Check out Ural, the effective urinary alkalinizer. Ural, neutralize your uric acid problem now.
This is KiniNews and I'm your host Prasad. If you're expecting fireworks on Wednesday, you're going to be disappointed because the PSC hearing involving Azam Baki will not be happening this week because the MACC boss is putting up a fight. The much-awaited Parliamentary Select Committee on Agencies hearing on MACC Chief Azam Baki has been postponed. This is after committee chairperson Abdul Latif Rahman received a letter from Azam complaining about the nature of the investigation. Azam said the hearing would breach Dewan Rakyat standing orders if it was held as planned on Wednesday and if the agenda remained unchanged. Azam argued that this was because he filed a defamation suit and matters to be discussed by the PSC might be considered by the courts. Furthermore, Azam argued that he was already being investigated by the Securities Commission and the MACC Complaints Committee. As the discussion centered on his conduct, Azam also argued that any discussions in Parliament should be conducted by means of a private motion and not a select committee. In view of this, Abdul Latif said he will be consulting with the Dewan Rakyat legal advisor. Repeated attempts to reach Abdul Latif for comments were unsuccessful. So Wednesday's hearing is not happening, and if it does, you won't get to see it anyway, according to the Speaker. The Parliamentary Select Committee meeting scheduled for Wednesday in relation to MACC Chief Commissioner Azam Baki's share ownership will not be open to the public. According to Dewan Rakyat Speaker Azhar Azizan Harun, this is because of the standing orders on PSC proceedings. Speaking to the Star, he said the standing orders also disallow discussion or even disclosure of witnesses, witness statement and contents of the proceedings until a report has been presented to the Dewan. He added that this is meant to preserve the integrity of such proceedings and to assure complete cooperation from everyone involved. It was reported previously that the PSC on agencies under the Prime Minister's Department will hold a meeting on Wednesday to discuss Azhar's share ownership in two publicly listed companies. The meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. on that day. However, not everyone agrees with the Dewan Rakyat Speaker. In fact, Wong Kah-Wah said some of the things said by the Speaker were totally absurd. Dewan Rakyat Speaker Azhar Azizan Harun is not right, according to Parliament's Public Accounts Committee Chairperson Wong Kah-Wah. This comes after the Speaker said that the special proceedings on Wednesday will be held behind closed doors due to Parliament's standing orders. Instead, Wong said the people have a right to follow the PSC meeting that has been scheduled to discuss MACC Chief Commissioner Azam Baki's shareholding ownership scandal. Wong added that the Speaker has the power to initiate the suspension of a standing order by referring it to the House for a decision pursuant to Standing Order 90(2). The Ipoh Timur MP stressed that with the suspension of Standing Order 85, any parliamentary committee proceedings can be aired online and be open to the public. He also said that it was totally absurd for the Speaker to say that the closed-door proceedings are meant to ensure complete cooperation from everyone involved. Wong pointed out that all witnesses are duty-bound to give full cooperation to the PSC. With the inquiry looking like it's not happening anytime soon, an opposition lawmaker is hoping Parliament could be able to do more. DAP lawmaker Nga Komeng has submitted an emergency motion for Parliament to debate MACC boss Azam Baki's shareholdings in publicly listed companies. Nga said in accordance with Standing Orders 18(1)(2), this is a specific and urgent matter that is of public interest. The motion proposes that the August House debates the matter and approves the resolution so that Azam will be placed on immediate leave until a full investigation has been conducted by the authorities, including the police. Azam came under scrutiny recently after allegations surfaced about him having owned shares in two companies back in 2015. According to Excel Force Berhad's 2015 annual report, Azam owned over 2 million warrants in the company as of March 21, 2016. At the time, Azam was the head of MACC's investigation division. However, in a press conference on January 5th, Azam said he did not do anything wrong as the shares were bought by his brother, who only used his name. Now we have a message from our sponsor. When we're back, Lim Kit Siang has something to say to Muhyiddin Yassin.
Pening, tangan dan kaki kebas, letih. Ini mungkin tanda peredaran darah kurang baik. Cubalah Thomson Activated Ginkgo dengan teknologi aktivasi dari Jepun yang menghancurkan ginkgo biloba dan melekat pada dinding usus untuk penyerapan lebih baik bagi membantu memperbaiki peredaran darah. Kawalan kualiti memastikan ia mudah larut dengan daun muda ginkgo dari Jepun. Untuk peredaran darah yang lebih baik, cubalah Thomson Activated Ginkgo. Ini adalah Medifax untuk Thomson.
Lim Kit Siang believes Muhyiddin Yassin's emergency to curb the spread of COVID-19 actually did more harm than good. DAP veteran Lim Kit Siang has responded to former Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin over his justification for the national emergency last year. In a statement today, Lim said he was shocked to hear that Muhyiddin was still trying to justify the declaration of emergency. He said the emergency undermined checks and balances and saw the COVID-19 pandemic in the country dramatically worsen. Lim pointed out how COVID-19 cases increased more than 8 times and daily COVID-19 deaths increased to 160 deaths, an increase of 40 times throughout the emergency. He added that Malaysia would have performed better in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic if it had not been declared. In an interview with Abu Dhabi-based newspaper, The National, Muhyiddin attempted to justify his unpopular use of the emergency declaration. He said that the expanded powers that came with the emergency were very important to manage the pandemic. Muhyiddin was quoted by The National as saying that people said the emergency laws were like being at war, but he told them this was worse than a war. Malaysia is slightly behind schedule when it comes to transitioning to the endemic phase. Here's why. A decision on the actual date for the country's transition to the endemic phase will only be made after the COVID-19 Quartet ministerial meeting next week. This is according to Senior Defence Minister Hishamuddin Hussein. He said the government had postponed the transition from the original date as they wanted to hear the reports on the effects of floods as well as the situation involving the COVID-19 Omicron variant and travellers returning to Malaysia, especially from Saudi Arabia first.
Dan saya rasa dalam seminggu ni, mungkin mesyuarat Quartet yang akan datang minggu depan, saya akan menerima taklimat daripada KKM, daripada MOFA, daripada pihak-pihak lain untuk kita bentangkan kepada jawatan kuasa khas yang dipengerusikan COVID yang dipengerusikan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri untuk menentukan, membuat keputusan dan mengumumkan bila tarikh sebenarnya untuk kita mula beralih ke fasa endemik.
Hishamuddin added that the decision will not be done in haste and the postponement of the transition may take 2 to 3 weeks from the original date. The transition to the endemic phase had previously been set for the first week of January, but was postponed following the increase in the Omicron variant cases in the country. Malaysians will be celebrating Thaipusam tomorrow and soon Chinese New Year, but while that's happening, Kari has a reminder for you. Health Minister Kari Jamaluddin today reminded Malaysians to comply with the COVID-19 standard operating procedures during the Thaipusam celebration tomorrow and Chinese New Year next month. In a tweet today, he said Malaysia has done well in ensuring COVID-19 infectivity remained under control throughout Christmas and the New Year, despite Omicron. Kari said so far over 4.7 million MySejahtera users have activated the MySJ Trace feature and over 2,000 positive cases have uploaded their interactions, which should help inform others who have been in close proximity to monitor for symptoms or do a self-test. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry reported 2,342 new COVID-19 cases, the lowest in 271 days since April 21st. Meanwhile, the infectivity rate is at 1.0. If the value is sustained above 1.0, it will lead to an exponential growth in fresh infections. And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com.